Okay, folks, this is the first, you might think, successful video with this Android 16 uh, machine. It's an 11-inch screen and has all kinds of features that are just, commonplace. But in the process of, setting this up today on a Friday, what I can describe as disappointment and, with a certain edge to it in terms of Facebook. I was in the midst of listening to a recording, one of my favorite, it's an old recording made by an excellent organist playing while he was the organist titulaire at Notre Dame de Paris. And then I thought, well, I'll also go ahead and set it up so that I could share things to my Facebook news feature, whatever they call it, the page, um, from this tablet, as well as view the stuff as I had when I looked up the music that I was listening to, and all of a sudden it popped up and said, "We need you to make a video, look into the camera and then look to the right and then look to the left." Well, let me say, it was a very strange, it was a bizarre procedure because it was more imperious than between people who agree, and I do agree, that the technology is in good hands in terms of the private sector. I would prefer that the power of face recognition and all of that be in the hands of entrepreneurs than in the hands of government, because it's safer that way. Um, if the government gets in the business of cataloging everybody, then what recourse do any of us have if something goes wrong? However, if astute free enterprise has its data, and after all, you know, there are a lot of paranoid people running around, or people who have reason to be paranoid, in the sense that they perhaps they don't want people to know who they are or something. There's a lot of hit and run stuff on the internet, but there was a certain lack of cordiality. To interrupt my music, to say it said, you requested a review of your account, a reconsideration of your account on December 6th. Well, no, I didn't. I simply was trying to update, so that Facebook would recognize a new device. Well, anyway, I thought it went very poorly. Then, after it took a good 5 minutes of holding this tablet in front of my face before they finally said, "Oh, we have what we need, and we'll be in touch, maybe within 48 hours, with our decision." And, it just was not friendly, and I don't know what caused all that. You know how I feel about current events in my part of the world, and it just hasn't been very good. So I thought, well, now, as friendly as can be, certainly had changed, you know. Then they said, when I tried to get, some clarification, we've run into technical difficulties. try again later. Well, I have no reason to say more than that, you know, I have in the past defended uh, YouTube and Facebook. I no longer have any reason to say anything about X.com, but I just thought it was kind of a, an unfriendly way to be treated, and we all know what the predication was for the unfriendliness. And I thought, do they do that with everyone who's going to have a picture taken? I don't think so. Um, but maybe that's unfair. I should presume that everybody is treated as I was. Like, you are suspect and we're going to accuse you of filing for reconsideration. Something I did not do. I had not, to my knowledge, been frozen out of anything or warned of anything, but I was told that my reconsideration would continue after we prove or discover that you are a real person. Well, of course, that's diplomacy for let us check with everybody with pictures of you. I thought, damn. I've been behind the Iron Curtain in the Army, and I've been to Timbuktu, and now, in the middle of pipe organ music, I'm told that I have been denied Facebook until they have peons compare their notes. Well, of course, we live in a situation where so many jobs are whittled at and tweeted and tweaked until the lowest common denominator affects just about everything. And I can understand, well, if records are done correctly, there would be no problem with comparing my pictures with the state ID that I got finally after being robbed and everything else and running into problems with none other than Cleveland, Philip Cleveland. That has little to do with anybody else per se, but anyway, I think when I signed on to YouTube with this new device, I was not surprised to discover that they've become more thoroughgoing, and they wanted, sure enough, me to take a picture of my photo ID that has the same ugly face on it. And I did, and that was the end of that. They did not say, you're under investigation or something. They just said, welcome to YouTube, and if you want a new device, then you can submit a picture. I said, I'd be glad to. So I did, and it took about maybe 30 seconds, and that was it. But it's a matter of attitude. I'll notice something else too. A big change, I think, was to see. I think on the front page, I looked, after this happened. Sure enough, the hypertext on the wiki listing for Facebook listed Zuckerberg, in case you want to get in touch, and about half a dozen others that may be common knowledge to others who they are. And I thought, well, that's a big switch. It goes along with what people like Chomsky and other friends have said about attitudes. And I thought, that's nice. But that was several days ago when I first, was considering, before I even got this new tablet. And I thought, well, that kind of is symbolic, But anyway, I couldn't help but think, with this argument, about tablets or phones and kids and scoundrels. Isn't it something that things that I think have to be done, face recognition and so on for the internet, things that have to be done seem to be in the hands of people who are not very well versed in why good people are cheerful about the whole idea. Suppose you went in to get your motor vehicle picture taken for a driver's license, and the atmosphere, the innuendo is you probably did something wrong or you wouldn't be here. And you feel like saying to all of them, damn it, I'm here to get my driver's license, not to be evaluated by you folks. As if they're set in place to do that. And of course, that doesn't happen. When you go to get your picture taken for a driver's license, it's not an occasion where they're going to fleece you and or anything. Um, and so I don't attribute, the way the pictures are done. I don't attribute just the vibes uh, that I experienced to the main management of the company. 5 billion people to take care of. I think they can't be in every office to see what's happening, but I had the feeling that something weird was going on. Rather ironic. Rather ironic. Anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and say this so that if my Facebook is wiped out without any real excuse, uh, summarily or something over the weekend, uh, maybe this will be some explanation. If not, then that'd be nice too. But censorship is a problem, I understand, and I thought that many really unfortunate challenges to free speech have really formed a headwind against good people that they shouldn't have to deal with. I think people who have the technology should be happy about it and create an atmosphere of good health and goodwill. Um, J. Edgar Hoover set up an enormous program for fingerprints many, many decades ago. And people did not riot in the streets because the government had that huge inventory. Every time you join the army or arrested for speeding or something, every court appearance, ordinarily, uh, they check to see if they have records and so on. Nobody gets emotional. Least of all the technicians who are just doing their job. Uh, Today, because of all my problems, it's a Friday. A nice technician showed up to draw blood, and they're checking, on my body chemistry and one thing or another. But she did not have an inquisitorial attitude, like, well, we just, what are we gonna do with you? Uh, any one customer, I guess, really is rather diminished by the total of, what is it, 5 billion that Facebook has. But that in itself is not the last word on the subject, philosophically. And what I'm doing is lamenting the fact that It was a sour experience. Whereas, I had already commented because of the stuff that goes on. I had already gone on record myself, among a few friends, as being in favor of every safeguard possible in terms of use of the internet and so on. But that doesn't mean, I think, somebody whose turpitude is a qualification for running some outfit. Now, I'm using strong language because I got this strange feeling as the you the procedure went on and the way things were worded. I would think it'd be something better than it was. Um, I'm going to say something so maybe some people would not like. I'm going to say, I remember when Zuckerberg was tossed off of the Harvard campus. Well, I don't suggest that means that he's hired somebody that like that should be tossed off of the Facebook campus. Um, he was tossed off of Harvard campus not because of what he had in mind, but because of what people thought he had in mind, and that is being revisited, even though there's no higher priority than the people being safeguarded with face recognition, particularly because not only are the most vulnerable uh, in need of a safe internet, but also some people who ride in the streets should not be able to do whatever they want on the internet. Then there's the whole question of a young man who got a brand new job. He's from Chicago. He got a job at the company headquarters recently, and he and I have said the same things, coincidentally, about not greeting young people as they come on into the classroom, grade school or high school, to be told that they must surrender their tablets or their phones or whatever, because they might be using them in a way that would interfere with what people on hand have in mind. Well, I'm an old school teacher, buddy, and I'm going to tell you the same thing this newcomer has said. Get to work with your Wi-Fi and offer something worthwhile to the kids. Don't take away their access and then think they should sit and listen to someone who has a confiscatory attitude. In other words, ask not why the kids should listen to you, but who can you offer them for inspiration, or something like that. I'm no speechwriter. So anyway, I may or may not be evaluated. They said that I've asked to be reconsidered, as if I had been, told to leave or something, when the music was still playing, and I had access to the thing, and then they came up with this Orwellian version of what should be a simple thing to get my picture taken, or a video, they said, so that they could really tell exactly what. I don't know, enough of us are old enough maybe to have been uh, confronted by bad cops, or what, or uh, maybe that's too often, it's something we live with because, you know, it's a hard job, you know. Cops don't have time sometimes to be diplomatic when there's no telling what's going on, you know, if they have to do. I've run into one or two bad ones about, you know, traffic violations. I remember in particular one who said I was weaving on the road. The theory being, I guess, that I was drunk or something. And I knew that wasn't true, you know. But you can't do anything about that. And everybody knows that. And then there are times when they're as polite as anybody you'd want to meet. Frankly, I've often wondered, you know, isn't it amazing that more of them don't buckle under the strain, really, of modern difficulty? Maybe that can happen, you know, in a certain section of Facebook where they're dealing with who knows what, you know, I don't know. But still, well, it shouldn't mean that they're giving the wrong vibrations, you know. On the matter of, you know, face recognition and so on, I don't even know what the regulations are about kids, you know, whether it's thought safe to, you know, file away pictures of kids um, offhand. I don't know whether I'd want to tell my kids, well, now we're going to take a picture of you in case we want to identify your body on the side of the road. Well, I don't think that I would want to tell, you know, a 10-year-old, hey, take pictures of, so that we could, you know, identify your body and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. I honestly don't know what. I'm sure people have given it plenty of thought. I think experts have given it plenty of thought, but I wouldn't want to, you know, upset young people about pictures that would enable the morgue, you know, to work. You know, so I don't know what you're doing with the kids, but I do know what you're doing with adults, and I'm glad, even though I think that if they don't like what I say about politics, that an easy thing to do is find other excuses against participation, you know, in one thing or another. And frankly, I thought that some really tough times on that score had been addressed after the last presidential election. I was given to understand that, you know, people kind of closed the books on some uh, controversies that shouldn't have amounted to much more than a brief and polite answer to those who may have wanted to do the wrong thing, you know. Well, they can look high and low, and whatever they decide. In any case, I'll remind you that there's still the YouTube account. I don't know of any difficulty there, and I think the only thing they've ever asked for is the picture of the ID. You know, when I bought the other machine and the new ID, they wanted a copy of it, and of course I explained. I did notice that they didn't allow for anything but driver's license. I thought, oh hell, you know, but when they took a picture of it and it had the same number on it as my driver's license, but it was only an ID, it came back positive or something. They compared it, you know, 2283578, and my name brought up a driver's license that I've had for, you know, 30, 40 years, however many, uh, what, um, 60 years. So that number I've had for 60 years. So they had that, and um, but they didn't actually have a category labeled state ID rather than driver's license. They listed only as driver's license. Well, that's what kind of I don't know. These big organizations have a lot to do, uh, and maybe somebody should examine what they're doing instead of being so quick to say that an untruth. As a matter of fact, my account wasn't closed, nor did I ask for review. So I think anything could happen, with Facebook at this point. And if I lose out on that, it'll be commensurate with a lot of things. I've noticed, that when you get much beyond 70, unless you're rich, people are very, what? Uh, what? Opinionated about what they will or won't do of this for this or that. And, oh, okay, Fortunately, it doesn't matter much anymore.